Example 6 says express each of the following in terms of the same trigonometric function of an acute angle. So it wants us to use angles between 0 and 90 degrees or 0 and pi over 2. So the first one says the tangent of 136 degrees. So we want to try to say, hey, what is this? How do we relate this to an angle between 0 and 90? That's what we really need to do. So we need, at the end of the day, for our theta to be between 0 and 90 degrees. Okay, so tangent has this cool property where the tangent of 180 minus an angle, okay, is going to be the same thing as the opposite of its angle, right? It's opposite in the second quadrant. We can pick this out and kind of think, okay, well, 136 degrees is over here. We want it over here. So symmetry-wise, if we did 180 minus an angle, we could actually end up with the opposite tangent. So what we need to do here is say, okay, well, if 136 goes here, what would theta be? Well, theta would have to be 44. So that would mean that the tangent of 136 degrees equals negative tangent of 44. Okay? B asks us for the sine of 247 degrees. Okay, well, the sine of 247 is in the third quadrant. Okay, so our third quadrant is over here. If we know this, then we know that 180 plus theta is the same thing as the opposite of regular theta. So we can say, hey, okay, well, we know that the sine of 180 plus theta is the opposite of negative sine of theta. So what we need to figure out here, okay, so well, if we know that the sine of 247 degrees is the opposite of the sine of, right, 180 plus theta to make 247 would be 67 degrees. Okay, so again, these are my answers for those two. And then it says the cosine of 320. Okay, so the cosine of 320 degrees. Okay, so let's think about this in a second. 320 is over here. And so the cosine is, how far away are we from this axis? So if we know that, we can do 360 minus, and that will give us the same as another place. Okay, so I know that the cosine of 360 minus theta is actually the same as the cosine of theta. So if I fit this in, cosine of 320 degrees, that would mean it would have to be the same as the cosine of 40. Right? It's because if I took 360, took theta away, it would have to be that same point over there. So the goal of this type of problem is to convert it back into the first quadrant and think about the logic of how this this trigonometry works. So again, just try to picture where it is and try to picture what the value of your sine and cosine and tangent and stuff are doing, and then you can kind of figure out how all this stuff works.